We low level or high level? Man, I need that energy then. We low level or high level? Let me get y'all to stand up for a second, man, because this is the most important conversation of this whole thing. That's why we had to wait so long. Are we low level or high level? Let's have a high level conversation then.
All right. So, as everybody's been waiting, let's get straight into it. I will have a show coming out on Revolt in about a month's time, I think. So you can give a round of applause for that. You can give a round of applause. You'll be able to hear me speak. And last time you were speaking to me and asking, we were having a conversation, but this time I want to ask you a few more questions. And so,
what's the show called?
It's called Chakabars Culture. So it's about culture because we do everything for the culture. And I really want to ask you, initially, to kind of give context to where we are and what we've been facing for like the last however many years, ever since black media has been about, ever since white media has been about, ever since media has been about. How has COINTELPRO, because COINTELPRO is a big one, it's still going, by the way. How has COINTELPRO, in the context of African indigenous peoples, impacted freedom of speech and oppression? And I want you to break down even what COINTELPRO is for the people here.
I mean, for those who don't know, COINTELPRO is an operation that the FBI have to basically stop any powerful black messiahs and or groups or organizations from rising to give us freedom, justice, and equality. So that means that they have a dossier on anybody that they believe goes against national interest, right? And so anytime you have a program like that, that means that whether it's a violent or not, right, you can be labeled an extremist of sorts. I would say, you know, it affected us probably in every way imaginable, in ways that we probably can't think of. Because we have to ask ourselves, who owns the culture, right? We are the greatest influencers of and creators of culture, but we don't own it. And that means that the oppression now that we face is the way that we oppress each other. People talk about gender wars, right? The way they separate men and women. To me, that's the biggest COINTEL program that has happened, right? The destruction of the black family, because without that nucleus, there is no black organizations that we can rally behind and get started. So when we look at over the last 100 years, right, there was black men and women working side by side to try to get justice within a system that wasn't built to give us justice. So now we at this point in time where we blaming each other for the injustices instead of continuing to work together in a cooperation. And that does not something that happens from an organic standpoint. That happens from demoralizing and programming the people to be against each other. Because after you knock down a man, you knock down a woman, you knock down a child, and nobody stands.
Give a round of applause for that answer. I don't know if anybody has seen the fact checkers thing on Instagram, or anybody's seen the censorship of social digital media, right? But there's many people who spend their entire lives, and they ain't getting paid, I know a lot of them, they spend their entire lives trying to show everybody what is really going on in the world, right? They spend their time trying their best to make sure that everybody in the world who they love, and especially people who have melanin in their skin, overstand the game that's being pulled over their eyes right now. We all seen what happened in 2020, right? Don't think that other things like that ain't gonna happen again, right? And when those things happen, I think it's necessary to make sure that you support your community, you check for your community. Anybody whose page is getting taken down, anybody who is being hidden is brought back to the light, because COINTELPRO used to be something that was analog. Now it's digital. That means that AI is now picking out things to stop you from being able to see how you can connect with your people. Because originally what COINTELPRO was trying to stop the rise of a black messiah. So they killed Martin, they killed Malcolm, they killed the Black Panthers movement, they killed the MOVE organization, etc., etc. At the same time as it was trying to stop the rise of a black nation in North America. Because I don't know what people think, but as per the census, I know they be lying on the census. They say that Muhammad Ali was saying that there was 40 million black people in North America, And then if you Google right now how many black people in North America, they're saying there's 45 million. In the last, 50 years, you've only grown 5 million. We know that Europeans are at a negative birth rate, right? So how is it that black people haven't jumped to like 80 million, 100 million, right? So it's to stop the rise of a black nation, because the black economy in North America is worth $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion now, right? That is enough money that you guys amongst yourself will be able to trade with yourselves and never have to speak to anybody else, right? That's important. That used to happen before they started all of the race riots, they called them, or whatever. And then the main point, which is going to bring me on to my next point, is that it was to stop communication between black Americans and black Africans because of how much money how much gold they were taking out of South Africa, right? And the next question I want to ask you actually is how do you think that this, because put your hands up if you know what BRICS is. Some of y'all don't, some of y'all do.
This Atlanta, they know BRICS.
They know BRICS, okay.
But the other BRICS,
different kind.
We're talking economics now.
All right, so BRICS is now a new paradigm. It's a paradigm shift with various, Ethiopia just joined, where I just came from. Various groups are now joining, countries are now joining BRICS. I think BRICS now has about 40% of the world's population in it. How do you think that BRICS and the black nation of North America can do business together? What do you think that looks like?
I don't think we set up to do business with anybody, because we not a nation, and it's no organization and no structure, right? So that's why we always talk about our spending power, because we are consumers, right? We are consumers, and influencers means that we may have a $2 trillion spending power, but our influence is even greater than that, because we have influence over what people spend their money on, which is what we call culture, which is why people invest in culture in the first place. Right? If you want a sports athlete to go over to, the Emirates over there to, Dubai or whatever, they want them because of their influence, increase in tourism, right? What our first relationship that I think that we can have is wielding our influence and leveraging that, right? So if we want to increase tourism in Ghana, right, you start influencing, showing people I'm out there, we having a good time, doing push-ups on jet skis, everybody want to come out there. All of a sudden you increasing, right, the economy out there. That's power. Right, so I think the first thing that we need to get together on is, only leveraging our spending power for things that benefit us, things that we have equity and control in, right? Because BRICS is a compilation of nations that's supposedly going to be backed by gold, right? And so as we talk backstage about that gold conversation, yeah, that gold is coming from the continent. So what we need to do is what? Trade with our brothers that have access to those mines. Right? We need to be able to use our influence and say that, hey, instead of go to Paris, this is the new hotspot. Why? Because we're able to leverage that, getting dual citizenship. Now we can do trade, right? So now everybody want to put that drip on, but how about we go out there and do import and export with the textiles in Africa? So therefore, when we have our New York fashion weeks and things of that nature, right, we drip down here at the toe from the motherland, and that money is circulating as an economy. So I believe that we have to operate as a nation, right? Food, clothing, and shelter. And if we can do that and get the security together, and we can come together under one guidance of a vision and have agreements on what that vision is based on our bigger issues of not having equity, freedom, justice, equality, and protection, then we can start getting together with the leaders, have these conversations, right? But I think that we have to, before we look outside of self, we have to look inside self, and then we have to look around, right? America is losing their superpower, right? We are in a place to where we've never been before. 500 years, right, of an empire having this type of power, and now they don't know what's next because there's no playbook because nobody went this far. So they're in an emergency. The best way to save America, and I'm gonna say this, is to save the black man, right? The reason I say that is because we have the worst statistics of all people, but I've never seen the fund for black men, right? And then saving black men is saving the black family. Because if he's not in a credible position to take care of his woman, she not gonna respect him. And they know this, so instead of helping the black man, I'm not gonna address the mental health issues, the poverty, the crime, the prison, right? The lack of media narrative control. No, let's skip over them and go to every other group and call that progress. So we have to focus on, if you want to make America great for once, then black men have to rise so that we can take care of our families. And then you're going to see an increase in GDP. When you start seeing these VC funds taking more than less than 1% and giving it to black people so that we can actually fund our ideas, right? Because a lot of times we beat each other up for not being successful at things, but we don't get that type of money and opportunity that everybody else gets. Right? We see the top earning households in America are the Indians, specifically Asian group, right? And so we may be modeling ourselves a lot of time thinking that it's about race. It's not about white and black. It's about dark and light, right? It's about looking at who's at the top and then taking that opportunity to say, okay, what do they have in common? They operate with family as a status and a structure to begin and move, right? When I do business with you, I want to do business with your family, not just you. You as an individual has nothing to do with the black American dream. That has everything to do with your goals and your desires. So they individualize us, demoralize us, strip us of our value so that even when you give truth, nobody listens. You know what I mean? They want to be skiing on stage instead of actually listen to take some knowledge to activate.
So we got about 30 minutes left. I have a question for the whole audience here. Because you guys might be able to, amongst yourselves, help yourselves and help us. Mm-hmm. Put your hand up if in here you have a mining operation in Africa. Okay, there's one sister right there. Everybody look at the sister. Everybody look at the sister. We were speaking earlier about who is going to finance the movement of stopping gentrification in urban areas in North America. Who's going to finance that? It's not going to be Chase. It's not going to be Bank of America. It's not going to be anybody who's going to finance that apart from ourselves, right? And so I was speaking to this sister, and she started a mining operation in Zambia. And just looking at some of the numbers, we can literally be pulling gold out of the ground and then trading that into dollars, into euros, into whatever. But right now, we're so trying to be heavily invested in real estate, usually European money. We're so heavily invested in entertainment. We're so heavily obsessed with being seen and being the black and brown faces of white capitalism that we can't even see how much value is there amongst ourselves ready to cycle. So we now have 27 minutes. I want everybody in here, because everybody in here is accountable to us and we're accountable to you, right? Right? I want everybody in here to, right now, figure out, you got ChatGPT, you got a bunch of other stuff, figure out what a mining corporation for the black diaspora looks like. Figure that out right now. I want you to start writing a business plan, put it into ChatGPT. Some of you economists in here, how are we going to move wealth and resource to Africa to get raw materials out of Africa, develop them, smelt them, manufacture them in Africa, and get a finished product back over here to develop your area. So I want you to all start thinking about that right now. That's some serious game, because everybody in here, if you're making money and you're, a black millionaire or a black billionaire, you're usually making money with white folk, right? That's how you're making your money. All of the black billionaires in North America combined is the equivalent wealth to one Nigerian billionaire called Dangote, right? One man in Nigeria. But if you look at the GDP here in Atlanta, just Atlanta, that's 500,000 people. The GDP in Atlanta is 385 billion. You can Google everything I'm saying. 385 billion. The GDP of ECOWAS, which is 15 West African countries, right, is 800 billion. 800 billion. So just one small city in Atlanta, and those 15 countries are responsible for 400 million people, right? So 400 million people in Africa, right, have got the same, have got 50% of the GDP of just Atlanta, just 500,000. And Atlanta's mainly black, right? I mean, I've been here. Like, I've seen hair and skin and shea butter. I've seen y'all here. So if you guys now are going to really start thinking about how you are going to advance yourselves here, you have to look to Africa, because most of the ways that you're making money here are actually the end result of Europeans, Chinese, Indian taking resources out of Africa, manufacturing those resources, right? Creating a secondary economy, and then creating a tertiary economy where they own all the brands, right? You might have some small brands here, but we don't know them in Africa, but we should know them in Africa, and you should know African resources here. So that brings me on to my next question. And my next question is, how can we collaborate with the Black diaspora and African nations to foster economic partnership and developments between us?
I think we have to, find mutual interest, right? Because we always talk about going to Africa, but you're correct, we always skip over, like, who are the people in Africa we go actually connect with. So if you watch high-level conversations, we just had a conversation with the brother Freedom out there, right? He's a real estate developer, right? And we was having a conversation with him because I'm like, there's never really been a conversation between the diaspora on a large main platform before, right? Closest we get is like Akon when he does interviews. But we don't actually talk to African people and say, hey, you got money, you got power, what's going on over here? How can we build? So I think first you have to begin the conversation. Most of these places would love if they can increase tourism and bring the skill set, right, that the Americans have over there. Because one thing that we can have of trade, I think a lot of time is, when I went over there to Africa, and especially Ghana, it was the most peaceful I've ever felt in my life, right? And when I looked at, the fact that there's a lot of different cultures, there's a lot of different tribes, but they're connected to these roots. We can't decide on what is culture. Most people think it's hip hop. Hip hop is a lot of times anti-culture, right? Because it's a lot of death culture.
Say it.
It's about murder, it's about prostitution, it's about sex, it's about violence.
Say it.
Right? Or depression. It's not about safety, peace, joy, rest, calmness, revolution, right? So we're missing a lot of that. And I'm talking about mainstream industry, because industry and hip hop is two different things. Like rapping is a skill, but industry is the business of, and oftentimes when we go over there, they think that's who we are, right? So they going to know 50 Cent faster than they know who Malcolm X is. That's an issue that they know are entertainers, but not our revolutionaries. So what we may think that we're walking around with this spirit of bravado and social consciousness and activism that they know us for, but in the reality, they know whoever the latest rapper or ignorance that's being imported as an export to them to say, this is who you are. So first we have to fix the issues of the Black American image and the African image. The continental image, we don't still see it as a luxurious place, right? So when you go over there, you gotta do documentaries everywhere. You have to show people. How many movies has there been about Paris, right? Paris has a brand. Europe has a brand, right? It is connected to a so-called culture. What is the culture? They connect Africans to poverty, right? So when you're able to see the richness, when you're able to feel like, oh, I can be safe out there, I can have a vibe out there. So I think the first thing is actually building that relationship, right? Because the Nigerians out here getting money. You know what I'm saying? Look, Nigerians, look at you with that chain on, man.
Niger know they carry last.
And I think that if we can get them to end the jollof war, then we could be cool because we can sit down at the dinner table. But y'all got to end the jollof wars before we can be good with y'all, because y'all be tripping over each other. Look at it. He must be, what, you Ghanaian? Nigeria, I knew it. Nigerians be the loudest, man. No, but I think communication first, right? Because you got to come from an empathetic place. We often come in thinking that we about to save everybody, right? We don't need saviors, they don't need saviors. We just need to do trade with each other, right? There's an opportunity, I can help you, let's build. Social capitalism, make money while doing good. There's so much infrastructure that they need, and there's a lot of expertise over here that can help and assist, right? And then there's a lot of things that we can learn from them on the culture side, right? Because we haven't learned how to pass down knowledge and information from generations to generations to have these strong family values. So I believe that that's the first trade. So yes, you can go out there in real estate, do land, do the gold, help them mine the resources, create these new industries, because it's about institutional creation. That's what we talking about here. We got the music, right? We got the vibes. They had Uncle Waffles out there, turned everybody up, right? Because they be hitting that. I can't do that, but they be hitting that. You feel me? So I feel like We got, when you think about our power as a culture from an influential standpoint, everybody loves us. We love it, right? But when you think of actually having real power, power that you can wield, right? Where you can say that, no, I'm gonna walk through, like this is my family. We have power in this industry. What do we represent? So we have more ego, right? Then we have power in our reality. And so we have to stop going for the money and start going for the power, right? Because even when we get money, we don't wield it for power. So you a revolutionary, right? Just because of what you're doing is revolutionary. You an activist because you activating the people. But how many people coming up to you and say, man, listen, I want to put resources behind you? How they gonna respect you over there if we over here not respecting each other, right? How we not putting media behind it? How we not building up these institutions and saying, man, what Key's doing, I love it. How many people I know would just watch it, bro, I support you. From a distance, yes. You just watching to see if I'm gonna succeed or fail. That's not support. Right? So when somebody stands in front of the people, you gotta stand alongside with them in the front and the back to protect them and have their back. But you can't go to war without money, right? And so business is warfare. So we have to start having these conversations now. Like we got a nonprofit where we're gonna be helping doing free education, giving out textbooks. We need to be able to create these encampments to do rites of passage, right? We need to own the land so that we can build whatever we want on the land. That's the power. But who gonna help us do that? Or we gonna be happy because we got a new millionaire and billionaire, but we don't see no activation from the light they hold.
A round of applause.
Listen, I was being a little patient back then, so I came out a little angry. But they say anger is a good thing because that means something needs to change.
Ashe. Is interesting because I was doing some research earlier, right? And I was looking at the total population of Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana. 45 million people. The GDP combined of Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana is 2.6 trillion. Africa, 1.3 billion people. The GDP of Africa is 2.7 trillion. So 3 states in North America have got as much GDP as the entire 54 countries in Africa combined. And that's because most everybody who's going into Africa doing anything are stealing. They ain't putting anything back in there. I was Googling Congo. Congo, 100 million people. The GDP of Congo is 50 billion, right? People in Congo right now are on less than $500 annually each. So I've seen people there starving to death while 10.5 billion of cobalt is being taken out of the country every single year. There's 12 billion being taken out of just copper every single year. Then there's 2 billion of diamonds, gold, wolframite, tungsten. All of these things are being taken out and nothing's being put back. That's why there's 22 million people right now in Congo who are starving. There's 6 million people in Congo right now who are displaced. I'm there, I'm working there, and I'm seeing all this stuff happen. And I'm like, I know if my brothers and sisters in the Americas, I know if my brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters in Europe were to come over here, they wouldn't be doing that shit. Like, I know that. I know that you wouldn't go over there and rob from people. I know you would go and build with people. And that's the kind of trade relationship that needs to be fostered between us. Because if we are not going to do for ourselves amongst ourselves, then we are going to die and we're going to be dancing while we're doing it. Right? I don't know if anybody's seen the shucking and jiving and all of this stuff that people be doing, but it's like, for whatever reason, we acting like it's all good at the same time as I've been through Atlanta and I've seen people starving on the street corners, right? And a lot of the people who are starving on the street corners don't even get to come to events like this, right? So what are we doing? If you look at America, and then if you look at Black America as a parent, what are we doing for the children? How are we treating the orphan children? How are we treating the children in group homes? How are we treating the children in poverty? And then how are we treating the children in the rest of the world? It seems like our parents ain't doing a very good job, right? Because actually, the parents of black people in this country right now is white America, right? And you see what white America be doing to black people, right? But it's not just white America. You see what Indians do, Koreans do, and every other ethnic group disrespects us at every single opportunity that they get. And what do? We go out, we march, We say we're gonna overcome. We hope that change is gonna happen. And I'm like, I'm seeing, when I was in, during the lockdown, I was in Thailand, and I was watching all this stuff happening, and I was seeing this whole hands up, don't shoot thing, hands up, don't shoot. And I was like, what is this? And it was like, oh, this is Black Lives Matter. And I was like, oh, okay. What about Black Liberation Movement? What about strap up? You're allowed guns here. Why are you begging your oppressor to stop? I don't understand this. How many people have you got here that's been in the military and know how to shoot people? So why are you begging your oppressor to stop shooting you? Right. Like, let's get back to the Black Panthers. I see you got the Panthers on the back of there. Let's get back to the Black Panthers. You need to, hands up, don't shoot. You need to strap up and shoot back. That's what I've been saying to everybody. Everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy. And Malcolm X said that self-defense is just common sense. But everybody's out here waiting for a savior or a messiah to come and get them. No messiah is going to come. It's only we that have us, right? And the same things that's happening in Africa is happening all over the black world. Brazilians are catching hell. There's 160 million Brazilians right now. And when there was like around 700 or 800 people being killed here in 2019 by the police, in Rio alone, one city, there was 1,000 people killed that same year, right? So whether we're in Brazil, whether we're in Israel, whether we're in South Africa, whether you're in Arkansas, or whether you're in Chicago, black people catching hell everywhere, right? So we catching hell everywhere. So right now on this stage and in this group, anytime you see the diaspora wars, or you see this ADOS, FBA versus Nigeria versus, just shut that shit down straight away and say we ain't doing that no more. We've moved past that. We work together, right? Because Nigerians love you just as much as you love them, and all you need to do is get on a plane and go and see it. Because when my brother went to Ghana, he told me after he came back from Ghana, he's like, yo, it's amazing here. People love me out here. I've been received well out here. I've been looked after out here. And there ain't no racism out here, right? So these trade relationships need to be built. And nothing that I'm saying is not common sense. Put it into your melanin. I have melanin, you have melanin. Let's put it together so we can be mellow, right? Let's find the common ground and start working together to build. So that brings me on to my next question.
I want to say something on that because you said a whole lot. Our guns ain't gonna save us. It's our unity that will. You in Georgia and Texas, they strapped up. It's a reason why they don't fight for their family, right? It's a reason why they don't defend themselves, because they have already been destroyed in the mind first. You have to train the people up, right? And they have to have a moral code and vision that they stand by, right? Because your guns ain't bigger than their guns, right? And unless you got an operation where y'all moving as soldiers, right? And you have a code for protection, but protection happens before, not after. That's vengeance, right? And so unless you submit to something higher than self, you can't really be protected. Because you go out there, harm go come to you, and you go be like, okay, well, who go help me? Well, why did you put yourself in a situation and need the help in the first place? If you was following orders, you would have been all right. But who orders are we following? We don't follow man orders, God orders, and we can barely follow our own orders because we don't have discipline. So when you talk about a people getting them together, this is why we focus on economic education. This is why we focus on financial education, because you gotta have the skills, the network, the budget, right? And you gotta have the knowledge of self to be able to go out there with dignity and stand up for yourself. Right, like we get mad at every other group, but the thing that they have dignity within themselves, right? They're not going to allow nobody to step on and piss on them. They're not going to allow nobody to play with them, right? And so the tip of the spear can't be from our ability to pull the trigger. It has to be from our ability to think. It has to be from our ability to love each other, because that love produces a duty that we have to each other. And when we become duty bound, and I see you as my brother and my sister, said a nigga and that's a different game. Niggas and don't protect each other, brother and sisters do. So if we want to put out the information and the promotion and the propaganda of you a nigga, all right then, well y'all go treat each other like that and you gonna be treated like that and you gonna stay unprotected. It ain't never gonna be no protection for you, right? And so it always goes back to the family nucleus. It always goes back to the education. It goes back to the rites of passage. How many of us have rites of passage? To where you don't need to protect your child from the world, you prepare them for the world, so you don't have to protect them from the world, right? But we are underfathered and overmothered. So you're not getting that balance to go out there and be the man and be the woman. You're the boy and the girl. You want to be the princess and the prince instead of the king and the queen, right? So when we talk about nation building, we have to always go to the root of the problem, not the fruit, right? The fruit stems from the branch, but when we actually go down and we dig in and we say, okay, what the hell going on down here? Because we have to look at each other in this day and age. We got technology, shit, we got AI. What's the problem? Right? They got blockchain, they got cryptocurrencies, you got the internet, social media, but how are we using it? We don't have a lack of money, right? It's the way we actually invest our money and what we gonna use it for. So everybody else laughs at us. They give you all the power and the greatest tool in the world because they know that you don't want any power with the tools. So we have to go back to actually having goals. And you start that with who's gonna control the future. Most time people think about the future, they're afraid because they don't have their own plans. Right, when you have your own plan, I'm going to influence the future. When I think about, all right, this new technology coming, well, this is how I'm going to use it. Right now, how they using it? Why are you scared of somebody else's plans? Because you don't have your own. So we have to get back to strategies where we take a step back and we look at what is working, what can we make work better, right? And what can we double down that we already doing that's working? Black women killing it out here. All we got to do is work with them. All we got to do is work with them. They say y'all getting money? Well, shit, let's build then. That's not a problem. That shouldn't cause the gender war. That sound like more investment income. You know what I'm saying? But if we ain't working together, it sound like an issue. So I love the fact that y'all getting this paper. Let's build and let's invest. You know what I mean? We gonna protect y'all. We gonna hold the fort down. Niggas gonna stop being suckers. Women's gonna stop being and we gonna hold it down here in America where we get respect and dignity from across the world. Then they want to do business with us, but not from a begging and, oh, they oppressing us in America. Man, ain't nobody oppressing you but your mindset.
I don't know if anybody got the business plan for the mining corporation yet, but I'm watching y'all. So someone out there is thinking about it. Because if we were to actually do a group trip sometime next year to Zambia.
Y'all want to go to Africa?
Yeah. So we can go and see some gold mines and go and get
10,000 each.
Right. Nah, and get some investment.
I was serious
right?
about that.
Because by this time next year, I would like it as some people in here is like, yeah, I put in 5,000 and I got 7,000 back. I got 8,000 back. Like we ain't necessarily talking about you're gonna make millions and millions, but you're gonna make more than you're gonna make investing with fools here and making their pockets rich. Because you have to think about it. Every time you're investing in a business that's not part of your community, they're taking the net profit of that and they're buying up your community. Like I just went through the 4th Ward earlier, and one side was like hood. Like one side was like hood. Like I seen a man out there and he was raking leaves with his bare hands, right? And he was naked. So I seen that. At the same time as on the other side, I seen some white people doing dog yoga on the same street. Well, shit. So, what I'm saying to you is that this self-love that we need to have for each other, it needs to start with trade, because I would honestly feel more comfortable if we had a shared mutual interest in something than just, I'm just gonna trust you, right? Because a lot of people don't even trust their own family right now. You can't leave certain kids around certain people in your family. You can't leave certain money around certain people in your family. Somebody, if you tell them that you're going on a holiday, they might rub up your shit and sell that stuff, right? So we want world peace, but a lot of us don't even trust people in our own family. Right? So we need to start building our own family, because friends is family that you choose for yourself, right? And one thing I said earlier is 2 men in a burning building should not stop to argue. We ain't got nothing else to argue about. We did all the arguing, we did all the talking on social media, Black Twitter, you won. Whatever you were trying to win, you won that, right? And now it's about building with each other. So the last question that I'm gonna ask you, and it's an important question, is we see gentrification taking over our neighborhoods, even right here in Atlanta. How do we think that will play out for black folk in the next 5 years if things keep going the same way? And how do we think that it will play out if we create a new way?
So there's an Oasis project that directly tackles gentrification. Gentrification is not necessarily a bad thing. It's investing into communities. The problem is that we don't end up investing into our own communities, right? So if Atlanta is gentrified by black people who have a good heart to do good for Atlanta, then that's good, right? Maybe it's not a Starbucks, but it's some black-owned coffee shop, right? But it's the beautification and the revitalization and the investment into that neighborhood, right? To increase the value of that neighborhood. So I think that a lot of times we gotta look at the strategies, right, of the people on the opposite side, adopt those for good. Right? It's like Sun Tzu. You don't always have to shed blood in order to win the war. You don't have to tear something down. Use the resources that's here. That's less energy, right? So when we actually look at projects like Oasis and we look at how can we be the landlords of Black America, right? And I mean that in the sense that every time we gotta go pay rent every single month, it's gonna come, right? So what if that was going to an actual family that looked like you? That's revolving economics. When you eat and the person that owns the grocery store looks like you, that's revolving economics, right? When you gonna go buy a new drip and the person you buying it from looks like you, right? And the place that it was made in a place with people who look like you, that's revolving economics. So right now it looks like if we take these same concepts that they try to give us and make us be so afraid of, and we say we're gonna take ownership of these things, and we're gonna take control of it, and we're gonna look at what do we want for the future of Atlanta first, right? Because if somebody got a plan for it, then they win it because they're the better planners. But if we don't take collectively and say that, you know, what's our plan for Atlanta? Do we want it to be a tech hub? Do we want to add in, we don't want it to just continue to try to be like a Black Hollywood. No, we don't need to recreate that, right? We need to create something new, right? The issue is that we keep looking at old spaces and then trying to give them fresh air. That's not what we need to do. We need to breathe life into something that actually matters. So when we look at media like what we do, right? You got Tyler Perry out here, he got a media house, right? Number one, I love media because it controls the narrative, right? It implants what you think. Yes, you can go listen to gossip all damn day long. That's not gonna do nothing for you all damn day long, right? But when you take that attention that you have and you convert that into something valuable, it produces something valuable. So it's like, how many people in here invest in Black media? Right? How many people intentionally take their business marketing dollars and they spend it with a Black podcast or a Black media group that they like? So what happens is when you don't do that, right, those media houses can't grow. So they have to take sponsorships, right, from corporations that may not care about the message that you push, so they end up having to tailor that message. But when we invest in each other, then we can control the message. I'm free. Right? Nobody controls me. I can stand on whatever stage I want, whoever person you see me stand next to, and I'm still free because I know I'm a God. And if you don't know you a God, then the devil go keep playing you like a sucker, and them boys go keep saying they demons. So I don't even remember what the question was, but I know that ownership is the only key, and thinking about, all right, boom. You know, number one, it's getting bad out here in these streets as far as education and like, you know, when it comes to, you know, private education. Right? So with Dr. Claude Anderson, he talked about the 5 different levels, right? And so you gotta look at those levels and then you gotta directly have a strategy for that. So for me, it's about investing in each other, that's it. And you don't tell me that, and this is a thing I hate as well to address this. People be like, you pro-Black. Tell me what's the opposite of pro-Black? No, anti-Black, right? Black and white are not really synonymous. It's anti-Black. So if you're not pro-Black, you're anti-Black. So asking me if I'm pro-Black, right? It's a crazy thing to me because I just grew up being aware and having love for my own people. How do you not have that? How you box me into a category as a Black man that has love for his own people, right? So we should be ashamed of ourselves because anytime somebody step out there on the front line, we're not always willing to assist them. I want to put the onus on us, right? No other community can do anything to us unless we allow it. So what are we allowing and what are we going to do? And when we talk to each other and we talk to other people, we have to talk about our vision, right? This is what we want. We had to have a declaration. They created a constitution to have control over time, not space, right? So we not fighting for space. We fighting, this is our damn time right now. But it only happens if we start planning right now.
Everybody stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. I need some energy from everybody. I want everybody's fist in the air like this. Everybody, if you're Black, put your fist up in the air. If you're melanated, put your fist up in the air. And I want to hear everybody say, I am a revolutionary. I need some bass in your voice. I am a revolutionary. I love my brother. I love my sister. Again, I am a revolutionary. I love my brother. I love my sister. Now that's your mantra for the rest of the year and the next year. Give yourselves a round of applause. We've enjoyed your time. Peace, love, and hopefully we're going to see you next year.